Citizen of the world who earned her doctorate in anthropology at Columbia University, where she also served as lecturer in ethnolinguistics. Her fieldwork took her to the Guajiro Indians of South America. On her own, she has spent time with the peoples of India, Nepal, and Afghanistan. Since the 1990s, she has worked as a prison liaison mentor, a peace activist, a teacher of English to Mexicans, as mythbuster extraordinaire, as well as researcher of the paranormal. She has spoken and written on multiple personality disorder, crime, the afterlife, cosmogony, free energy, the new science, angelology, and proto-history. Martinez is a popular radio personality, a guest columnist, award-winning jewelry designer, award-winning poet, and inveterate bookworm. Book review editor at the Academy of Spiritual and Consciousness Studies, Dr. Martinez is the author of 2 biographies, The Psychic Life of Abraham Lincoln and The Hidden Prophet, and more recently, author of The Time of the Quickening, The Lost History of the Little People, and more also Mysterious Origin of Hybrid Man. She is a contributing editor to Forbidden Science, Folk Dark Lore, and the Cutting Edge anthologies. Her work also appears in Atlantis Rising, Fate, New Dawn, and Mind, Body, Spirit magazines. She has been honored by Graham Hancock, who would be another great person for this program, as being the author of the month for the month of November on his website. So if you'd like a thumbnail sketch of her work and her theories, she said go to that website because they've got like a 200-word explanation of her work. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Susan B. Martinez.
Can I get...
Here's your water over here.
Yeah.
And here's your clicker for your book.
Right.
Okay, go to it.
Could you get this half-size thing out of your... That's my handout. Can you hear me good? Yes. And this is the book I'm talking about today. Let's see what... Uh-oh. Everybody recognize this gentleman? Thank you. I was talking with a little boy just the other day, 6-year-old boy, and his parents recently moved from Orlando to Virginia Beach, and just to draw him out, I asked him. I said, "Are kids any different in Orlando than here?" And he goes, "Yeah." So I says, how are they different? He goes, "The backpacks." The backpacks. And that was it. So, you know, very soon after I realized there was a meaning to that. Kids are the same everywhere. And it was kind of like a realization for me. And then I had another realization. Adults are the same everywhere. People are the same everywhere. Under the skin. Actually, I shared that idea with that child's mother, and she disagreed with me. Yeah, because it's just the skin, you know, the surface that we're looking at. Under the surface, all people are alike. I said to her, I said, all people want peace. She didn't say nothing. And then I didn't go on with her, but then in my mind I realized all people, or maybe I'll qualify and say almost all people. Yeah, because someone will jump on you, you know, with the exception. Almost all people want freedom, and almost all people want justice. And, you know, that whole train of thought gave me my opener here for today, because that's really our theme. We began quite a different set of races, human races here on Earth, but we intermingled, and that's where the hybrid word comes from, the mysterious origins of hybrid man. We intermingled, and that process has been going on for 75,000 years, and the key word is amalgamation. And then if you want to go on with this process into prophecy, that is the prophecy for the human race, the amalgamation of the races. I even found one anthropologist who used the word homogeneous. We're becoming more homogeneous, and this is true. You know, I better not run off at the mouth, because I've got 36 slides, and I have a funny feeling I'm not going to make it. Do you have your handouts? All right, so maybe I should give you the conclusion first and then work my way through. Isn't that a good idea? So here it is, flat and plain. The crossbreeding, that's why this little handout is sufficient for the purpose of my talk. The crossbreeding of the races, there's no evolution at all involved from day one to now. No physical evolution. And here are charted the cross-matchings that can account for the different races in the fossil record. Some of the terms are peculiar. I have borrowed the names of the races from the Oaspe Bible, which is the Bible where I get my inspiration, and a lot of proto-history. And so Asu represents the very first race of man. It was a very primitive creature that was basically, he was bipedal, but he also scampered around, lived in the trees, did not have language. Earliest men. Back around 1990, the paleontologist found that critter and named him Ardipithecus ramidus. They're all Latin names, and forgettable Latin names for these races. I was going to say, if you leave the story of human origins to the paleoanthropologists, it can get very complicated and very technical. I'm going to try to simplify it. We're not going to get overwhelmed with all the fossil types, because they did not evolve. They're just the results of crossbreeding. So the very top of the chart, maybe we'll just start there. There's a whole story there, because I've got animal man, Asu, Ardipithecus, if you like, or Ardi for short, as he's known in the literature, mating with an angelic type of human. That's how the divine seed was first planted in the human race. And I don't know how far I'm going to get into that, but it's in, I think, chapter 7 of the book. I devote a whole chapter to how the divine portion came to earth. So, I'm so afraid I'm not going to make it, so let's see what we got here. This is called the parade. This is known as the parade, where you see kind of realistic diagrams of ape types, slowly but surely evolving into men. It's called the parade. This is what I'm here and talking about and debunking is the standard model that's being taught in all the schools. I would say, I have to say that it's most preferential in the English-speaking world, in England and America. There are many Europeans and other countries where the scientists don't buy this at all. But for obvious reasons, it's the English-speaking world that is still teaching Darwinism as the gospel truth. And so this model says that mankind, the critter on the end with a big brain and culture and smartphones, is different in degree only from his ape ancestor, and I'm completely tearing that apart. I think it's dehumanizing in its own way to derive us from animals. I want to say that mankind is in his own kingdom and never came from an animal. The first man, Asu man, was very primitive, but he was a man, and he was improved by the angelic influence. Maybe I'll just move on. Oh, I was so lucky. Through another organization, I got to know Marvin Herring. He's a retired osteopath, and when I say got to know, I'm talking computer. You know, you can even have good friends who you've never seen their face and never heard their voice. That's Marvin Herring, and he's been with me through a lot of books. Cartooning is his sideshow, and he loves it. He's so talented and so funny. He's Jewish. He's got a whole set of Jewish campfire cartoons. And I don't feed him any ideas. He just gets in, maybe he reads a chapter, or maybe he just knows what I'm writing about, and he just takes off his own ideas. In this case, I didn't feed the idea to him, but he come up with this thing, and actually I can take off on this because the first big problem in the standard model of man's origin from the apes and evolution is reversals and anachronisms. Actually, I have something to refer to, something I could read you. And if you're curious about my accent, I'm from Brooklyn, New York, and I'm living in Georgia and have the southern twang all wrapped up in one. You will find this in Appendix E of the book, where I selected just at random, really. I mean, if you go through the literature carefully, you will find all kinds of reversals and anachronisms. So how could things have evolved to a higher state? A lot of the examples are from Africa. You know, ever since Louis Leakey started digging in Africa in around the 1920s, and you know, his son afterwards also followed up the same line of work, Richard Leakey. And the wife, Mauve Leakey, and the daughter-in-law, all the Leakeys are these world-famous paleontologists, but they set the scene in Africa for, and that's how they got the out of Africa theory, because everybody started zeroing in on Africa for their digs. And they set up a totally false theory that the Garden of Eden was Africa, and everybody moved out of Africa and evolved into Caucasians, Mongoloids. That is false, and I'm probably going to be able to get to that. We're not going to waste time on that, but that's Appendix C for all the back steps, which put the lie to progressive evolution. Here, okay, here, I'll give you one example. How many of you know the word Australopith? Okay, there. Asu man on our chart. When Asu man was slightly improved by intermixing with the Ihins, those are the little people, those are the angel type people. That's when the Australopiths. Well, since most of you don't know about Australopiths, we won't make a big thing of it, but I will mention this much. Oh, you might have heard of Lucy. Okay, she was an Australopith. And they came in two types, if you're talking in physiological terms. The gracile and the robust. The gracile are more like you and me, with refined anatomy and features. The robust are pretty much the caveman type. Okay, I'll finish with this. Here's one example of reversal. Which would you think would have come first if evolution were taking place? The robust or the gracile? Yeah, okay, it's the other way around. Then that's our example. I don't know why I've always been so taken with this. This is the Lady of Elche. Have you ever seen it? It's a bust from Spain. I'm not sure why they call her the Lady of Elche, but isn't it striking? And when I saw it, I think I kept it because this is what I think the little people look like. We have in your handout angels from the higher heavens manifesting corporeally on earth. It was possible in those times. And they were actually sent to uplift this Asu man because he was meant to be human, have the virtues of humanity. But they did that, but they also intermingled with them. They weren't supposed to, it was forbidden, but they made it together. And and they produced the little people. And the name of that race, again, which I borrow from Owaspe, is the Ihins. It's spelled I-H-I-N. They were little, they were gracile and little, and refined features, large brains, AMH, anatomically modern humans, very early in the record. There goes evolution right there. Okay, so back to the Lady of Elche. We've got a few definitions going here. Gosh, I thought that's what the Ihan face looked like. And I also have this theory that Spanish is the oldest language in Europe, except for Basque, of course. But Basque is not Indo-European. Basque has a different story. My field was linguistic anthropology, so I'm really into language and word study. Okay, I'm getting off the topic right there. Let's see what we got. You don't believe me about little people? Where is this? Guess? Huh? Thank you.
South Africa?
Scream it loud.
South Africa.
Yeah, this is the Kalahari. What was I saying? Okay, this is the Kalahari desert where the Bushmen live, and that's and the man, the big man, is Afrikaans, Lawrence van der Post, a wonderful man, probably in the 50s, decided to make the big trek into Bushman territory. And he selected the shortest Bushman that he could find for this photograph. The little one is a man of about 50. He's got dancing rattles around his neck. The other fella is a father of two. Don't he look like a boy? A grown man, father of two. Let's see if there's anything else I wanted to say about this here. Yeah, I want to, okay. Maybe a few of you are into cryptozoology, know the name Ivan T. Sanderson? Oh, yeah. Okay, I got the title of this race from Mr. Sanderson, Homo sapiens pygmaeus. And so this is one of the earliest races on Earth. As you can see from your chart, this is the second race, Ihen. See it? As from the mating of the angelic type with the Asu man, which is your basic autochthonous, indigenous Earth people. And there he is in the second race, Ihen man. And so wherever there was Ihen genes, you could get people this little. And I've been very happy to have gotten the name of the race from Sanderson, because nobody else recognized them as an actual and genuine race. In fact, that leads right into the lost race theory. You know, the Smithsonian just burked it, the lost race theory, back in the 19th century when they found the mounds here in America. The first mound builders were the little people, Homo sapiens pygmaeus. But that was over 20,000 years ago. So yeah, there is a lost race. There are lost races. Some of the races have gone extinct. And because the Ihen people were around from almost the beginning, we're talking 72,000 years ago, that's the second race of man, we have AMHs too early in the record. AMH are your anatomically modern humans. Everything's an acronym, so that's an acronym too, AMH. And now we're talking paleontology talk. AMH characteristics like a well-developed chin, a broad forehead, stuff like that, too early in the record, before Homo erectus, you throw it out, you know, put it back in the ground. That's what they kid around. That's what they say when they find these anachronistic creatures. Oldest. I've got a note. Yeah. You know, the standard model, everything I've said so far is completely different than the standard model. And the standard model, if I say, well, in Mayan folklore or Indian folklore, they say, we don't believe legends. You know what I'm saying? If you're trying to make a point and you quote a legend and the standard model says, legend don't mean nothing. But I'll read it anyway. Legend means as much as your bone work. It means as much as linguistics. It means as much as any area of knowledge that can contribute to origins, putting light on origins. Just a few examples here. The Mayans say the first world, you know, they have worlds or ages, first, second, third, and fourth, the Mayan ages. The Mayans say the first world was inhabited by a race of dwarfs, the Siam Winnicab. So that's the little people. The Choctaw Indians in Oklahoma or Alabama, wherever the Choctaw are. Alabama. They lived on Earth before us, the little people. Hawaiian oral history, the Menehune. Go to Hawaii, you'll hear, and 1 week you'll hear all about the Menehune. They're legendary, the original little people who they found on the islands when they got there, when they migrated there. The Mu and the Menehune. Serbian and Polish folklore, the Ludki, the little people, lived before humans. Western Europe, well, the fairy people, the old ones, the Fays, were the oldest beings on the planet. So yeah, we combine literary sources. You know, legend is oral history. It's not necessarily myth in the sense of a lie. If I have a chance, I'll get back to some of these, but I have a feeling I'm talking too much. This is for real. This is from Inner Mongolia, and this is such a marvelous proof of giants and dwarves in the olden time, because the gene pool still has stuff from the deep past, particularly the remote areas of the world where there hasn't been that much outbreeding. This is Inner Mongolia, and that is the littlest man in the world, and that's the biggest. And okay, I've got a little info on it. The tall guy is 7'9", and the little guy is 2'4". The father of the little one said when he was born, you know, he was just didn't even fill his palm. Oh, and I really wish I had here, I didn't get it on the slide, I don't know why, a bodybuilder, a similar a photo of bodybuilders in India, and, you know, a big guy, and then the world's littlest bodybuilder down there, you know, like this. It's still in the gene pool. Oh my gosh. When I saw I had this, I was thinking, what am I going to say? Some of this material is very esoteric, and again, I'm referring back to histories, passages in OSPE, which covers, OSPE is a new Bible, and it covers science, it covers history, I mean way back, and it covers the spirit world. And there are many plates in OSPE that have this appearance. You don't know what you're looking at until you start studying it. Can somebody read the caption?
Jehovah said, "Behold, I caused all living creatures to gestate in darkness, and this shall be testimony to the end of the world. That when I created life on the face of the earth, she traveled in my," I'm not sure, Simeon? Firmament.
Simoon?
Firmament.
Oh, okay, so Simoon, linguistically, Semu has the same root as seminal, meaning beginning, or semolina, referring to a seed, or semen, all with the same root for seed. This refers to a formative time on Earth. Earth is a change. It's not like it keeps changing. The Samoan firmament, the gestating in darkness gives the, we know that seeds need to germinate in darkness, and it was the same for life on Earth when it was produced, and that was in the Samoan age, which ended 75,000 years ago, and that was when that was when and how the angels were able to take on corporeal form, because it was still in the Samoan age. Some paleontologists recognize that a formative period, a gestative period. They speak of the Cambrian that way. That's 500 million years ago, when boom, all of a sudden life appeared. But now, you know that do you know about the ongoing debate between Darwinism and intelligent design? Yeah, the unsettled debate. Intelligent design in the literature is ID for short, another adorable acronym. Darwinism is purist, and their belief is that this is a very naive belief, really, when you think about it. In order to be scientific, that it has to be God-free. This is the thinking. Oh, I'm glad you're laughing. You know, and this is the issue, and not just Darwinism, but every science requires to be God-free, requires a secular. But I say you do not get to the bottom of the human identity without an understanding of the higher realms of life. We don't come from apes. We may look a little bit like them, but then again, maybe God uses the same blueprint for certain species. I'm sure he or she has done that. The sudden appearance, for example, in the Cambrian, which I mentioned a minute ago, that's the problem. I mean, the most of the major phyla of all animal and vegetable life appeared suddenly. The fishes, the mammals. Check it out. They don't have a yesterday. So I'm a spiritualist, and I'm a creationist, but I'm also an amateur scientist. You know, a would-be scientist. You can be all of those things. There is no intrinsic conflict between science and religion at all. It's just us. What's that? A cell phone? It's just us that create the conflict. I think you know that. I think you know that. The other thing is that species don't change. They haven't changed over millions of years. Check out the literature. There's no evolution there. Let's move on. I think this is another one of these wacky diagrams, and I think it also pertains to the Samoan age. And I can't, oh yeah, this is plate 7 from OASB. My breath, see, my breath came forth. By my breath came forth all the living on the face of the earth. That's the Creator speaking. Okay, so again, when you go to the legends of the world's people, you know, they say that God took clay from the earth and formed a mannequin and breathed his breath of life into that. And you find that same story all over the world, among the world's people. And it's the same here in the caption for this. And I'll read on because this is significant. And I commanded the living to bring forth by cohabitation every species after its own kind. And do you know what that means, after its own kind? It means that one species never changes to a different species. there's no evolution. All species bring forth after their own kind, and there really is no change over the eons. Ooh, I told you I talk too much. Oh my gosh. So we're going to breeze through a little bit here. But that's the breath of life. I'm glad we saw it. Here is a chart demonstrating something I mentioned at the very beginning, where in the beginning, there was a very big contrast between Asu man, this very archaic Ardipithecus, Asu man, and the Ihans, who are elegant, very elegant little people. They had translucent skin. They had no melanin. And they had white hair and yellow hair, or sometimes yellow pale or white skin. Long, silky hair, musical voices, gentle. And so this is a chart that summarizes the amalgamation of the races over the last 75,000 years. I do not subscribe to the deep time that the standard model gives you. The standard model says Ardipithecus is 5 million years old. The model I use, and that I understand to be the truth, goes back no more than 80,000 years. That's a big difference. So something's got to give. There's a reason for deep time. You know why? Because Darwin's changes by natural selection require that much time. So you date the fossil accordingly. We don't have that much time, so I'm going to move on, and I could move back if necessary. That's Marvin for you. I noticed that because the last one, Intelligent Design and Natural Selection, I had a conversation with a lady only a few days ago, and I was telling her about my talk and my opinion, my book, and she could see easily how the Creator created the animals and the races, but she thought that was combined with Darwinism. We've been brainwashed. I'm sorry, we've been brainwashed. It isn't even what our friend here says. It's not a combination. Evolution satisfies the secular model, and that's why it's still here. Can you think of any other 19th century theory that's still alive? I can't. They've all been knocked aside by 20th century science, but evolution, the only alternative is a spiritual one. So, I found a review of my book online by someone named Robert Stephen Thomas, and of this book, though politically incorrect, this is a remarkable book which offers a fresh new perspective on human evolution. It is thoroughly researched and presents reasonable arguments from many varied sources. The conclusions are stunning and difficult to deny. Are there some legitimate and serious problems with Darwinist theory? This book will challenge your belief in a professional, scientific, dignified manner. Plato said, the greatest fool is one who criticizes a thing about which they have limited knowledge. Save your criticism until after you have actually read this book, you just may see your personal worldview in a new light. Intelligent intervention. You know, some of us don't have to strain at all to understand the Creator and to accept the creation of species. Other people, it's like the most shocking thing you could say to them, you know, that we were created. You know, can you prove it? No. Don't matter if you can prove it. It's our understanding that counts. You see, when we leave this body, we go on to the higher life, and we eventually become gods and goddesses, and eventually rule the planet, and travel the Ethereal roadways, and manage the worlds. This is just a picture of an Ainu. Do you know there's a white race living in Japan? Hairy, the hairy Ainu. Bearded, hairy bodies. The women tattoo mustaches. Can you believe that? And little. Okay, so you've got little genes, little people. You've got white genes and hair. The Ihins were bearded. So you've got a lot of the genes from the original Ihan race in the Japanese Ainu. And you know what? Guess what the paleoanthropologists call this situation? I mean, okay, the hypothesis is that they migrated from Europe. Come on. They don't even have the head shape or the language type of Europe. But you know what you will read in the literature about the Ainu? Let me tell you what the experts will tell you. It's a mystery. It's a mystery. And there's just a few more words I want to warn you about, because we are capable of all knowledge, and it's coming soon. We're coming into light now. Watch out for that word, mystery. Watch out for, we may never know. That's another one. And here's one more. Complex. Global warming is so complex, we can't give you a normal statement on it, for example. Okay, you've been warned. Who's that? Who's that? It's James Churchward. The continent of Mu in the Pacific Ocean, and that's what I'm writing about now. I've been writing about it all year, and it will complete the series. The Little People book came before Hybrid Man, so this was number 2 in the series. The last one in the series, and I'm finishing it now, is about the continent of Pan, or Mu, in the Pacific Ocean. That will complete, so it's a trilogy, it's 3 books, and the one after that I already had planned, and I'm going back to spiritology with a book entitled The Overshadowing, and how we're all overshadowed by spirit personalities. I don't really know how Churchwood ended up in this group. Okay, now that's a Crow Indian, and I don't know. I must have included it because I will read you what the Crows say about their own past, and then we will take a look again at his face. The Little People had been mentors to the Crow Indians. Here's a quote. Our forefathers claim the little people lived there once, and it was a sacred place many years ago. And the reason I included the illustration was, look at the chiseled features on this face. In fact, I wonder, I don't have time to do that, but can you see how there is a mixture of the indigenous Indian and the basically Caucasoid little people race in the features? You know, that's a blend. That face is a real blend, and that's how the American Indian came about, the blend of the Ihan race and the indigenous people. My favorite? Right? Is Marvin a trip or what? And it's really cool. It's really cool because he really hooked into genuine debates about interbreeding, because if you cross a horse with a donkey, they can have offspring, but they're sterile, mule. So, you know, there's a lot of arguments that center around that kind of thing, but let me see if I had anything else to say about that. Oh, yeah, you know, I was telling one of you, a gentleman here yesterday at that nice party we had in the afternoon that, you know, they used to use the word miscegenation for the mixing of the races. That became a no-no, you know, in the 1950s, around there, when the civil rights movement come up. So you don't see it anymore. You see only politically correct terms that you don't even know what they mean. We used to know what words meant, but now with the substitute terms, it's like, what does that mean? But, you know, they took it out of the language, but they didn't take it out of their hearts. And the whole entire history of mankind on Earth is just race mixing. There's no evolution. But maybe people don't like that for other reasons. Maybe they don't like the idea of race mixing. It ain't right. You know? It ain't right. The races should stay to themselves. But hey, that's the history of mankind. And we're getting past it now. We're getting past all the problems now. The revelation of hybrid man, it really would really help. It's a single axiom, race mixing. You don't need nothing else to explain any fossil man, particularly evolution. Okay, we're in the Philippines, and that's an American. On the far side is a full breed Negrito, that's the little people race, Homo sapien pygmaeus, and there's a mixed breed in the middle. They do not recognize Homo sapiens pygmaeus. Instead, here are the theories of how little people came about. Okay, when they find a small skeleton, you know, say in a dig, small proportions, it's anomalous, or it's a skeleton of a small bear. I collected the explanations. It's a hoax specimen. These are all alternative explanations. It's children. It's pedomorphism, a tendency to retain juvenile traits. It's congenital abnormality, growth deficiency, adaptation to jungle life, easier to move around the dense forest, climb the trees for fruit. That make them little. Squatting in canoes. Inbreeding, isolation, lack of sunlight in the forest. crowding on islands, shifting of the reproductive, heck with all that. It's just, I mean, watch out for lengthy explanations. You know, I think it was Fred Hoyle, or just rereading it recently, said, it might have been Fred Hoyle or similar, the more explanations you need to account for new fossil discoveries, the more you know you're on the wrong track. You want the simple, the true answers are really simple. I don't know where I am, so I'm just going to move on like this. Okay. So now you finally have a picture of the original races, and this is all of these, of course, are in the book. I want you to call out, who's that? Yeah. The first one. Yeah. Okay, and I'll tell you what, when the little people interbred with the Homo erectus types, they produced that second one. That's Aihuan man, and that's basically the race that was here in America until they bred with the little people. Now the yaks, that would probably be Dmanisi man and Denisova, some of the new fossils they found, and they're figuring out how they evolved. They didn't evolve. That's backbred. That's when the second type backbred, interbred with a lower race and come up with the yaks. And there are cave diagrams of just that type in Easter Island, in Peru, of the yak type. We're going to move right along. I think we don't have to. This is basically a different version of what you have on the handout, and I might have something to add to it. No, I don't. There's an archaeologist named Chris Hardica. He wrote a book called The First American, and he gave me the idea. I communicated with him for a while to call all of this, it's his own term, the Nookie factor. Down with Darwin, up with the Nookie factor. His subtitle is Sex in the Single Species. Then when they see that some of these races did not evolve, they came out all of a sudden, they appeared suddenly. What do they call it? They call it rapid evolution. Watch out for a compounded terminology. It's just fumbling in the dark. Reject it and find the simple answer that's behind it. This is part of the same deal, and these are all well-known specimens in the fossil record. Carpina, that's in Southeast Europe. Sakapastari, Shanidar, that's in Iran, Iraq. Taboon, that's Israel. Ehrendorf, Germany. Steinem, Germany. These are all well-known fossil men, and they don't have to figure out how they evolved. We can figure out which races got together and produced them. I wish someone would do it, because for me this was just writing the book and moving on to something else. I haven't been involved in paleoanthropology for 40 years, and I don't plan to go further with it. I think we can move along. Yeah, retrobreeding. So that's what I'll call it, retrobreeding, when a race like the Aihuan backbreeds with the Homo erectus type and produces that yak type. We can call that retrobreeding. Okay, here is an important point I want to make. What I'm saying today is the exact opposite of Darwinism. Darwinism says that the races split off, you know, that you had the ape type and the ape line here and the human line here. You know, it's all hypothetical, not only proof, but that's the theory. It's split off. Hey, the Nookie factor is just the opposite. It's coming together. It's that races come together. They didn't split, they came together. I had a girlfriend draw this for me, and I'm not sure, I think it's Siberian. This is a living race, a portrait of a living race. It could be Java or it could be Siberia. I don't know why I didn't get it labeled. But see, that's the erectoid version. Homo erectus, who's supposed to be extinct 200,000 years, there weren't even humans on the earth of any kind 200,000 years ago, but that's about how they date the Homo erectus. And there's the living man. I do think it's Siberia. And do you see how the some of the genetic traits are carried over? Yeah, so the races really aren't exactly extinct because we still have those genes floating around. This is my own feeble attempt to be an artist, and the publisher rejected it, but for some reason I put it on. I was just trying to show, illustrate the ludicrous, really childlike idea that we that a human brain could have evolved from something that, from the ape family. That's all it is. We've got Marvin coming up. Is that cool? That's a bird, the bird family evolving from dinosaur. This is the current theory. You know, they're really teaching absurd things to our children. These are distinct phyla. So Marvin really caught on this time. The general belief is, you'll see the phrases like transmutation of species. It's generally called speciation. There is no such thing as speciation. It's also called mutation. I'm sure you've heard that. Here's Fred Hoyle. You know that all the changes, you know, the great human brain and human form is supposed to have come about by natural selection and accidental mutations. Fred Hoyle, you know who he is, a great astronomer, a late and great British astronomer and all-purpose man, radio man. He coined the word Big Bang on the radio in 1950. He's the first one who came up with that. Fred Hoyle. You should read Fred Hoyle. He was a novelist also. The mutation argument for evolution was famously debunked by the great cosmologist Fred Hoyle, who quipped that a living organism emerging by chance, that's the mutation, natural selection, by chance event is about as likely as a tornado in a junkyard assembling a Boeing 747. Right. Yeah, right.
Sorry to tell you, 10 minutes.
10. Okay, we'll just have to do something about that. Oh, you know, just a fine point is that there were birds already in the age of reptiles. That's adorable, isn't it? Does Marvin have a good imagination or what? The most recent sensation, that's Peter Brown, Australian paleoanthropologist who, who was kind enough to give me permission to use the photograph. He's photographing the Hobbit skull now. That's a Homo sapien pygmaeus specimen that was discovered in 2004 on the island of Flores near Java. They called it Hobbit Man. It made big time in the news. Have you heard of that? Not the Tolkien, but have you heard of the Hobbit Man? Let's see, I got something here. Peter Brown. He says that the scientific name is Homo floresiensis. It was found on Flores. Might well have arrived on the island already small-blooded. So much for island dwarfing, which is another one of their excuses to explain away Homo sapien pygmaeus. Everyone's explaining island dwarfing, and he's the big expert, but he says they may well have arrived on Flores already small-bodied. Okay, that's good enough. Karen Barry, a friend of mine, also drew this, and this was a general idea of Hobbit Man, but the last slide is going to be more realistic, and you will enjoy it, and it comes from the Natural History Museum in Washington, in the district. We'll check that out at the very end. I might have something to add to that, otherwise we'll move on, and when they cut me off, they cut me off. Oh, ever read anything by Stan Gooch? He had I think he passed away recently, had an article in the Barnes Review. He said that Jews, I don't think he likes the Jewish people too much. I'm Jewish, by the way. For real, I'm Jewish, Spanish, Southern, and lots of other things. Who said that Gooch said that the Jews can trace integral components of their heritage to the Neanderthals. Well, I suppose so. But we're incorporated into it through interbreeding. I don't know about that. We're going to head home now. We're going to come in the home stretch. Need I say more? Okay, so if you're an evolutionist and you have a staff artist and you say, draw me a picture of something that looks halfway between an ape and a person, this is probably what you get. It is a painting by Gabriel Max, but this is what the literature is full of: imaginary creatures. I don't think anybody ever looked like that except for in Hollywood. Cro-Magnon. This is where we get to the Great Leap Forward, buzz phrase in the evolution literature. All of a sudden, Cro-Magnon man, but if you look at your chart, the handout business, you'll find him. And it wasn't any particular great sapiens explosion. This is about 50,000 years ago that Cro-Magnon fossils were first found. It just happened there when the Ihan race took to mixing. How much time? 5? Okay, so let me try to wind up here. these fancy charts that they show you, you know, they have the money and they have the power and they have the artists and they make it look so real, but it's all part of the mirage, the contest for godless science to win over the creator.
Oh, bravo.
Oh, so should we end there? Wait, let's just do this. Wait, let's just see what we got. This is another one. We came from tree shoes, so they say. This is another favorite. Neanderthal specimens. Well, if you have interest, you'll just read the book. There's another one, and I think that's pretty realistic. Poor chin formation, sloping forehead, heavy brow ridge. That's Neanderthal man. This is the last one, and this is the one I said is at the Natural History Museum in the district, and this is more what Hobbit man, actually Hobbit woman, looked like. I think it's quite realistic. And so I'm done.